kingdom of Lemuria had always been a place of calm beauty, where sunlight bounced off crystal towers, rivers sparkled like liquid silver, and fields stretched green and wide beyond what the eye could see. Its people lived in harmony with nature, guided by traditions that had lasted for generations. Magic, a gentle and subtle force, touched everything, from the way flowers bloomed to the way birds sang at dawn, but the kingdom had never known the inventions and technology of faraway worlds. Lemuria was peaceful, safe, and quiet. That was until one unusual morning, when the sky itself seemed to change. It began as a small shimmer high above the palace courtyard. Citizens looking out from their homes pointed and whispered. Some thought it was a rare celestial event, while others feared it might be a sign of trouble. The shimmer grew into a bright silver light, forming into a sphere that hovered silently in the air. It sparkled with tiny flickers, almost like it was breathing. People gasped and stepped back as the sphere slowly descended, landing gently in the center of the courtyard. From the sphere emerged a young man, dressed in strange clothes unlike anything seen in Lemuria. He carried a small device that glowed faintly in his hands. The crowd murmured, unsure whether to be afraid or curious. Guards raised their spears, and the advisors whispered urgently to each other, debating what to do. Through the commotion, Princess Elara stepped forward. She was the youngest member of the royal family, known for her sharp mind and fearless curiosity. While most people bowed in caution, she looked at the newcomer with genuine interest. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice calm but commanding. Her dark hair framed a face that radiated intelligence, and her eyes shone with wonder rather than fear. The inventor smiled nervously, clearly unused to royalty and polite crowds. "I am an inventor from a world called Earth," he said, his voice steady but tinged with awe at the castle around him. "I come in peace, and I carry a gift of knowledge, a small prototype device that can help your kingdom in many ways." The court erupted in murmurs. The king's advisors frowned and whispered among themselves. Gifts were normal, yes, but knowledge from a world beyond their own? That was unheard of. Many wondered if this device could be dangerous, but Elara felt a spark of excitement she could not ignore. She stepped closer. "May I see it?" she asked. The inventor nodded and handed her the device. It was a small, sleek object, silver with smooth edges, glowing softly as if it were alive. When Elara held it, she felt a gentle warmth spreading through her fingers. It hummed softly, almost as if it recognized her curiosity. She examined it from all sides. Strange symbols were etched along its surface, glowing faintly as she touched them. "What does it do?" she asked, her mind racing with possibilities. "It can do many things," the inventor replied. "It can generate energy, analyze plants and soil, even help create food from air and water. It is a small example of the technology on Earth." "I hope it can be of help to you." Elara's eyes widened. She could already imagine how this device could transform Lemuria. Droughts could be eased, crops could grow stronger, and people would not go hungry. The kingdom's dependence on magic alone could be balanced with knowledge, innovation, and careful experimentation. The king stepped forward. A tall figure, with a crown of gold and silver. His expression was cautious but curious. "And what is required in return?" he asked. "Nothing," the inventor said earnestly. "I only wish to share knowledge and help where it is welcome. Your world can learn, experiment, and grow, and the device will aid in that journey. I ask only that you use it responsibly." Some advisors exchanged skeptical glances. "It is too unknown," one muttered. "It could be dangerous." Elara shook her head. "Knowledge is never dangerous unless we fear it. If we study it carefully, we can learn much." Her words were firm, and they carried a quiet confidence that drew the attention of everyone in the hall. Even the king could not ignore the spark in her eyes. That night, Elara could not sleep. She kept the device close, and studied it quietly in her room. She discovered that it responded to gentle touch, and when she spoke softly, the symbols on it seemed to move, as if listening. She realized this device was not just a machine. It was intelligent, designed to interact with those who used it with care and respect. In the following days, she experimented in secret. She learned how the device could enhance sunlight to grow plants faster, purify water from the river to make it crystal clear, and even create small floating lights that hovered in the air without wires. The wonders she witnessed filled her with amazement, but she also realized she must be careful. The kingdom was not ready for sudden change, and some people might misunderstand or fear this technology. Despite the secrecy, word began to spread. Servants whispered about the princess spending long hours in her chamber with a strange device. Children peeked through windows, eager to see the lights floating in the air. Scholars and scientists from the castle began to hear rumors, and curiosity grew among them too. One evening, as Alara observed a small plant glowing softly under the device's influence, she discovered a hidden message encoded within it. The symbols on the device rearranged themselves, forming patterns she could understand. It told her that Earth had reached a level of knowledge far beyond what Lumeria had ever imagined, and that this prototype was only a beginning. Alara's heart raced. The possibilities were endless, but she also felt a weight of responsibility. If she shared this knowledge recklessly, it could disrupt the balance of the kingdom. Yet, if she chose wisely, she could guide her people into a brighter future, one where tradition and innovation walked hand in hand. As dawn broke over the crystal towers of Lumeria, Alara made her decision. She would continue to study the device, but she would also prepare to reveal its secrets to her father and the kingdom. She knew it would be difficult to gain trust, and that some might resist change. Yet she felt ready. Her mind was clear, and her heart was determined. That day, Princess Alara walked through the courtyard, the device safely hidden under her cloak. She felt the eyes of the citizens on her, curious and expectant. Some whispered, some stared in awe, and some shook their heads in doubt. But Alara held her head high. The world was changing, and she would be at the center of it. Not as a ruler who commanded fear, but as a princess who inspired wonder. As the sun climbed higher, the inventor watched from the courtyard, quietly impressed by the young princess. He had seen many people from many worlds, but few had the courage, curiosity, and intelligence of Alara. He knew she would lead Lumeria into a new age, not with magic alone, but with knowledge, creativity, and a heart open to the wonders of the universe. And so, the kingdom of Lumeria stood on the edge of a new dawn. The silver device glowed softly in Alara's chamber, a quiet reminder that curiosity could open doors to worlds beyond imagination. The princess smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. The kingdom did not yet know the full extent of the gift that had arrived from Earth. But Princess Alara was ready. She would learn, she would explore, and one day, she would reveal the truth to all. Princess Alara had spent many days studying the mysterious device from Earth. Each morning she woke early, eager to discover something new. In her private chamber, sunlight streamed through the tall windows, hitting the walls lined with books and sketches she had made over the weeks. The device hummed softly on her table, glowing with a gentle light that seemed to respond to her presence. She touched it carefully, feeling the warmth and sensing the quiet intelligence within it. The more she studied, the more she realized how extraordinary it was. It was not just a machine. It was a world of knowledge, compressed into a small, shining form. It could analyze soil and water, enhance sunlight for plant growth, and even create nourishment from thin air. Alara marveled at the possibilities. She imagined fields full of crops that never failed, rivers that sparkled with crystal-clear water, and gardens that bloomed all year round. One morning she decided to test the device on a sickly tree in the castle garden. Its leaves were brown and brittle, and it had not produced fruit in many years. She placed the device near the roots and whispered softly, as though speaking to a living being. The device began to glow brighter, and a soft hum filled the air. Slowly, the tree's leaves started to regain their green color. Buds appeared along its branches, and within moments, tiny flowers bloomed, spreading a delicate fragrance across the garden. Elara gasped in delight. She had never seen anything like this before. Word of her experiments began to spread quietly among the castle staff. Servants would peek through the garden gates, whispering to each other about the strange lights and the sudden growth of plants. Some were amazed, while others were nervous, unsure of what such power might mean. But Elara did not care. She knew that careful study and understanding could unlock great benefits for the kingdom. Elara did not limit herself to plants. She experimented with water next. The small fountain in her chamber had always produced murky water, though it had been cleaned often. She positioned the device near the fountain, and the water shimmered, as if the sunlight itself was dancing on its surface. Within moments, the fountain flowed with pure, crystal-clear water. Elara drank a sip and smiled. It tasted fresher than any water she had ever known. She thought of the villagers who often walked long distances for clean water, and she realized that this device could change their lives. As days passed, Elara began to explore the hidden features of the device. She noticed patterns in the glowing symbols, almost like a secret language. One evening, as the castle lay quiet under the stars, she touched the symbols in a specific sequence. The device responded immediately, opening a small holographic projection that showed images of Earth. Cities with tall buildings, fields stretching beyond the horizon, machines flying through the air, and people using clever inventions to solve problems. All of it amazed her. A soft voice, coming from the device itself, explained in simple words, "Knowledge grows with curiosity. Share it wisely. Care for life, respect nature, and innovation will bring harmony." Elara listened carefully, realizing the importance of responsibility. The message encouraged her to think not only about what she could do with the device, but also how it could benefit the entire kingdom. Elara began to record her discoveries. She created diagrams of how the device worked, sketches of plants growing in unusual ways, and notes about the water purification process. She even made small models of floating lights that hovered in the air like tiny stars. At night, she would light them in her chamber, and the room glowed with soft, magical light. Sometimes she imagined the joy these lights would bring to children across the kingdom. Despite her excitement, Elara knew she had to be careful. Not everyone would understand her work. Some advisors might see it as dangerous or unnatural. Some citizens might fear change. She decided that, before sharing the device with the kingdom, she needed to learn everything she could. She needed to be ready to explain its benefits clearly and calmly. During this time, the inventor from Earth visited occasionally. He watched quietly as Elara worked, impressed by her intelligence and determination. "You understand it faster than I expected," he said one day. "Most people would be afraid of something they do not know. You see possibilities." Elara smiled.
"It is not magic," she said. "It is knowledge, and knowledge should be shared carefully."
"I want to help my people, but I must learn first." The inventor nodded.
"Very wise. The world is full of wonders, but also of responsibility.
You must balance curiosity with care." Elara's experiments grew bolder. She learned to grow small fruits in the air, nourishing and ripe within hours. She purified water from the castle moat and filled small jars to give to villagers. She even discovered how to create tiny lights that could guide people at night without needing candles or torches. Each success filled her with joy, but also with a deeper sense of purpose. She realized that this device was not just a tool, it was a bridge between worlds. One morning, as she experimented in the garden, a curious young boy from the village wandered inside. He had heard rumors of the princess working with strange devices and had come to see for himself. Elara smiled and showed him a small, floating light. His eyes widened in wonder. "It's like magic!" he exclaimed. Alara shook her head gently. "It is not magic," she said. "It is knowledge. If you learn, you can create wonders too." She realized that part of her mission was to teach curiosity and understanding, not just to use the device herself. As the days turned into weeks, Alara began to notice something remarkable. The device seemed to respond not only to her touch, but also to her intentions. When she acted with kindness and thoughtfulness, it performed wonders easily. When she acted hastily or without care, it remained still, almost as if waiting for the right moment. She understood that knowledge alone was not enough. It required wisdom and compassion. Late one night, as the stars shone above the castle towers, Alara sat in her chamber and looked at the device. She thought of the kingdom, the villagers, the gardens, and the rivers. She thought of the inventor's words about harmony and responsibility. She realized that the device could help the kingdom leap forward, not by replacing their traditions, but by strengthening them. It could improve lives without taking away what made Lumeria special. Alara made a quiet decision. She would continue her experiments in secret, but she would also prepare to share her discoveries. When the time was right, she would show her father, the king, and the council what she had learned. She knew it would not be easy, but she was determined. The kingdom had been peaceful for centuries, but it was ready for change. A careful, thoughtful change led by someone who understood both the present and the possibilities of the future. And so, Princess Alara worked tirelessly. She experimented, learned, and recorded every discovery. The device from Earth became her constant companion, a symbol of hope and curiosity. In the quiet of her chamber in the sunlight of the garden, she felt a deep connection to something larger than herself. It was a connection to knowledge, to responsibility, and to the future. The kingdom of Lumeria had not yet seen the full power of the prototype from Earth. But Princess Alara was ready. She would guide them, teach them, and reveal the truth when the time came. And when that day arrived, the kingdom would discover wonders beyond their imagination, not through magic, not through fear, but through curiosity, intelligence, and a young princess who dared to explore the unknown. The journey of discovery had only just begun. Princess Alara had spent weeks learning everything she could about the mysterious device from Earth. Every morning she woke before sunrise, eager to see what new wonders she could uncover. The crystal towers of Lumeria reflected the first light of dawn as she made her way to the garden, carrying the device carefully in her hands. The birds sang softly, as if welcoming her, and the soft rustle of leaves created a quiet rhythm for her thoughts. She had experimented, observed, and recorded her findings. Now she felt ready. It was time to share what she had learned with the kingdom. The grand hall of the castle was filled with sunlight streaming through tall windows, illuminating golden tapestries and polished marble floors. King Rilan sat upon his throne, his expression calm but curious. Around him stood his council, advisors in long robes whispering nervously to one another. They had heard rumors of the strange lights, sudden blooms in the gardens, and purified water, but none could explain the cause. Today, Princess Alara would show them. Alara entered the hall, carrying the device in both hands. Her dark hair flowed over her shoulders, and her eyes shone with determination. She placed the device carefully on a pedestal at the center of the hall. The glow from it reflected off the polished floors, creating tiny patterns of light that danced across the walls. The council gasped softly. "This," Alara began, her voice clear and steady, "is a device from a world beyond our own. It is not magic, though it may appear so. It is knowledge, intelligence, and invention, combined in a single object, and it can help our kingdom in ways we have never imagined." Some advisors whispered to one another, skeptical. One man leaned toward the king and said quietly, "Is it safe?" "We do not know its power." Alara met his gaze calmly. "It is safe when used responsibly. I have spent weeks studying it. I have learned how it works, how it responds to intention. and how it can improve our lives without taking away what makes Lumeria special. The king nodded slowly. "Show us then," he said. "Let us see what this device can do." Alara's hands moved confidently over the device. She activated it, and immediately the room was filled with soft, floating lights. Tiny orbs hovered above the polished floor, casting warm, golden light over the faces of the council. They blinked in surprise and wonder. Next, Alara touched the device to a small potted plant she had brought from her chamber. Within moments, its leaves turned vibrant green, and a single flower bloomed, spreading a delicate fragrance through the hall. The council members leaned forward, fascinated. "This device can help our gardens flourish," Alara explained. "It can purify water, enhance sunlight, and even help grow food more efficiently. Imagine fields that never fail, rivers that stay clean, and orchards that produce fruit all year round. This is not magic. It is knowledge applied with care." A young advisor, curious and eager, stepped closer. "Can it help the people, Your Highness? Can it improve the lives of the villagers?" Alara smiled. "Yes, I have already tested it with clean water. The villagers will no longer need to travel long distances for drinking water. Crops can grow stronger and healthier, ensuring no one goes hungry. It can even create small lights for guidance at night, so children and travelers will not fear the dark." The council murmured among themselves. Some were amazed, some still cautious. One older advisor who had spent decades studying magic spoke slowly. "If this is true, Princess Alara, you hold great responsibility. Technology without understanding can be dangerous. How can we be certain it will not harm the kingdom?" Alara placed her hand gently on the device. "It responds to care and intention," she said. "I have learned that it will not act recklessly. It grows and adapts, but only when we act with thoughtfulness and respect. Knowledge must be balanced with wisdom, and I promise to guide its use carefully."
The king studied his daughter closely.
He had always known she was intelligent, but now he saw determination and courage as well. Slowly, he rose from his throne.
"Then we shall learn together," he said. "We shall study this gift and see how it can serve our kingdom."
She felt a surge of pride and hope. The first step had been taken. The kingdom would not fear change. It would embrace it with guidance and care. Over the following weeks, workshops were organized in the castle. Scholars, farmers, and builders gathered to learn from Princess Alara and the inventor. They studied the device carefully, observing how it enhanced sunlight, purified water, and aided in plant growth. Children were taught to use the small floating lights to brighten dark corners and hallways. Villagers brought seeds and plants, learning to apply the device's knowledge to improve their crops. Alara enjoyed teaching. She explained the principles in simple language, showing how care and observation were more important than rushing experiments. She encouraged questions, curiosity, and collaboration. The castle halls echoed with excitement, as people who had once feared the unknown now explored its possibilities. One day, as Alara walked through the village with the inventor, she noticed a small garden flourishing in a corner that had always been barren. Children laughed as they watered the plants, while adults marveled at the healthy vegetables growing in neat rows. The device's glow softly illuminated the area, but it was the effort and care of the people that made it truly thrive. The inventor smiled at Alara.
"You have taught them more than I could," he said. "Knowledge is only powerful when shared with understanding."
You have shown them both. Alara felt a warm sense of fulfillment.
The kingdom was no longer merely observing wonders, it was participating in them. People learned to balance innovation with respect for their traditions, blending the old with the new in harmony. One evening, as the sun set over Lumeria, Alara returned to the castle garden. The device hummed softly beside her, glowing faintly as she placed it on the grass. She thought of the changes she had witnessed, the growth of crops, the laughter of children, the clarity of the rivers. She thought of the council, who now approached her with curiosity rather than fear, and she thought of the kingdom itself, ready to step into a new era guided by wisdom, knowledge, and care. She realized that her role as princess had changed. She was not just a member of the royal family. She was a teacher, a guide, and a bridge between worlds. Earth had sent its gift, but it was Lumeria's people, under her guidance, who would shape its impact. That night, she placed the device carefully in her chamber. She watched as the glowing symbols shifted, forming a pattern she had seen before. The same pattern that had first revealed Earth's wonders to her. The device seemed to pulse gently, as if acknowledging her understanding and responsibility. Elora whispered softly to herself,
The kingdom is ready.
"We will learn, we will grow, and we will thrive together." The following days were filled with activity. Farmers experimented with new crops, scholars recorded their observations, and children played among glowing lights that floated like stars above the castle and village. The kingdom began to feel alive with curiosity and discovery. It was a place where tradition and innovation could coexist, each enhancing the other. Princess Alara spent time with everyone, answering questions and demonstrating the device. She explained how observation, care, and patience were essential. She encouraged the people to think creatively, to find solutions, and to dream of possibilities beyond what they had ever imagined. Even skeptics began to see the benefits. One council member, who had initially doubted the device, approached her one morning. "I was wrong," he admitted. "I see now that this is not something to fear. It is something to guide, to understand, and to use wisely. That is all I ask. Knowledge without understanding is empty, but with care, it can bring life and joy." By the end of Part 3, the kingdom had embraced a new era. The device from Earth had not only revealed wonders, but it had also revealed the potential within the people of Lemuria. They had learned that curiosity, responsibility, and collaboration were more powerful than fear. And at the heart of this transformation stood Princess Alara, wise beyond her years, ready to guide her kingdom into a future filled with hope, discovery, and harmony. The journey was far from over, but the first steps had been taken. The kingdom of Lemuria was no longer merely a land of tradition. It was a land of growth, innovation, and endless possibility. And Princess Alara knew that with knowledge, patience, and care, the best was yet to come. Princess Alara woke early, as she always did. But today there was a sense of excitement in the air that she had never felt before. The sun rose over Lemuria, casting its golden light across the crystal towers and the green fields stretching beyond the castle. Birds sang, rivers sparkled, and the castle gardens were alive with color. It was a kingdom transformed, and Alara knew that much of this change had begun with a device from Earth. The people of Lemuria were no longer cautious or fearful of the unknown. The workshops she had led in the castle and the village had taught everyone the value of learning, patience, and responsibility. Farmers had discovered better ways to grow crops. Scholars had found ways to combine traditional magic with new knowledge, and children had learned to see the world as a place of endless possibility. Elora walked through the courtyard, smiling as villagers greeted her. They waved their hands, carrying baskets of produce that gleamed with health and vitality. A small group of children ran ahead, following floating lights that glimmered like stars, their laughter filling the air. Alara bent to pick up a fallen fruit, examining its color and texture. She thought of how simple observation, care, and understanding had turned these fruits from small seeds into abundant nourishment. In the castle, the council had grown more collaborative. They no longer argued about whether to embrace the unknown. They discussed how best to guide it. King Rilan watched proudly as his daughter led the kingdom, not through command, but through inspiration. Her approach was gentle, yet determined, combining curiosity, care, and wisdom. She encouraged questions, allowed mistakes, and celebrated discoveries. Slowly, The people of Lumeria realized that progress was not something to fear. It was something to nurture. One morning, Elara gathered the council and invited the villagers to the courtyard. The device glowed softly on a pedestal at the center. "Today," she said, "we will explore something extraordinary together. Not just magic, not just tradition, but knowledge and care combined."
This is the future we are building. The crowd leaned forward eagerly.
Farmers, scholars, and children watched as Elara demonstrated how the device could purify water, enhance sunlight for plants, and even create floating lanterns that glimmered above their heads. As each demonstration unfolded, the people gasped in wonder and clapped with joy.
This device does not take anything away, Elara explained. It helps us understand, observe, and care.
It is a tool for growth, not control, and it works best when we act with patience, kindness, and respect. A young scholar approached, carrying a notebook filled with sketches and observations. "Your Highness," he said, "we have been studying it carefully. We understand its patterns, its responses. With guidance, we believe we can help the entire kingdom benefit. We can grow more food, purify water for every village, and even explore ways to create new sources of energy." "Exactly. This is not just my gift, it is ours, to share, learn, and care for together." She glanced at the device and smiled. It pulsed gently, as if acknowledging the wisdom in her words. In the weeks that followed, Lumeria entered a golden age of learning and innovation. Workshops spread across the villages, teaching everyone how to use the device responsibly. Children learned the value of observation and experimentation, understanding that curiosity could be a force for good. Farmers discovered ways to grow crops that had never been possible before, while scholars combined the device's technology with ancient Lumerian magic to create solutions that balance progress with tradition.
Even neighboring kingdoms began to notice the changes.
Ambassadors came to see the innovations firsthand, amazed at the harmony between people, nature, and technology. They asked to learn from Princess Elara, who welcomed them graciously, sharing knowledge without fear or pride. She explained that the device was not a weapon, not a means of domination, but a tool for understanding and growth. One day, as Elara walked through a village, she saw a group of children planting a garden, using techniques they had learned from her. They laughed and worked together, carefully following instructions and observing each plant's needs. A woman approached Elara, her hands stained with soil, and said, "Princess, we never imagined we could do this. The harvest will be more than we ever hoped, and our children are learning to care for the earth as we do." "That is the true gift," she said. "Knowledge is powerful only when it is shared and used to care for life." As time passed, Lumeria flourished in ways that no one had thought possible. Fields were full, rivers ran clear, gardens glowed with vibrant colors, and villages were filled with laughter and learning. People worked together, combining their skills and ideas. They no longer feared the unknown, because they had learned that curiosity and responsibility could lead to incredible discoveries. Princess Elara continued to guide them. She spent her days teaching, experimenting, and exploring new ideas. The device from Earth remained with her, always glowing softly, a reminder that knowledge was a bridge between worlds. She felt a connection to the people who had created it and to the kingdom she loved. She realized that innovation did not have to replace tradition. It could enhance it, helping her people live fuller, happier lives. One evening, as the sun set over the crystal towers, Elara stood on a balcony overlooking the kingdom. The rivers sparkled, the gardens glowed, and the lights from floating lanterns drifted gently in the air. She felt a deep sense of pride and fulfillment. Lumeria had changed, not because of magic alone, but because someone had dared to explore, learn, and share knowledge responsibly. The inventor from Earth joined her, watching the kingdom with admiration. "You have done more than I could have imagined," he said. "Your guidance, your patience, and your understanding have transformed the kingdom. It is not just the device. It is you who has made this possible." Elara smiled. "The device is a gift, yes, but it is the people who have made it real. They learn to care, to observe, to grow, and to share. That is the true power of knowledge." The king, standing beside them, placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. "You have led the kingdom with wisdom beyond your years," he said. "You have shown us that curiosity, care, and courage can create a future brighter than we ever imagined." Elara looked out at the kingdom, feeling a deep connection to everyone below. She thought of the children, the farmers, the scholars, and even the villagers she had never met. She realized that this was only the beginning. With knowledge, understanding, and responsibility, Lumeria could continue to grow, explore, and thrive for generations. In the quiet of the evening, the device glowed softly beside her, pulsing like a heartbeat. Elara placed her hand gently upon it. She felt its warmth and the quiet intelligence within. It had shown her wonders, but it had also taught her the greatest lesson of all, that progress was not about power, wealth, or control. It was about understanding, sharing, and caring for life itself. And so, Lumeria entered a golden age. Its people learned to embrace curiosity, balance innovation with tradition, and work together to create a kingdom full of life, learning, and joy. Princess Elara had led them not through fear or force, but through guidance, example, and the simple truth that knowledge, when paired with responsibility, could transform the world. The kingdom glowed with possibility. From the tallest towers to the smallest gardens, rivers sparkled, fields thrived, and the people laughed and learned together. The device from Earth remained a gentle reminder that the universe was full of wonders, and that those who approached it with care and curiosity could bring those wonders into their own lives. Princess Elara stood quietly, watching the kingdom she loved. She knew that challenges would come in the future, as they always did. But she also knew that Lumeria had learned the most important lesson of all, that progress, guided by wisdom and kindness, could create a future brighter than any imagination. As night fell, the floating lanterns glimmered in the sky like stars, and the kingdom rested peacefully, full of life, hope, and the promise of endless discovery. And Princess Elara, with her heart full of courage and curiosity, smiled, knowing that the true adventure was only just beginning.